Hey guys, welcome back. Well, I've got the clock generator all built and ready to go. So what we're going to do in this episode is see if this fixes the starting up of the processor or not. I can adjust the frequencies as I need them, but I've got it set to pretty close to what I need, and that's what I'm going to use to try and get this machine up and running. So guys, anyway, grab yourself a drink, a few snacks, and that comfy old chair, and let's see if we can fix this poor thing. Okay guys, I've got the clock generator on the box here just so it doesn't short. I have got some double-sided tape on the other side with the foam type just to keep it off the surface and anything shorting it. Now I've got my scope clicked on to the clock out, and where the earth comes in I've just soldered a tag off that. This is the version 1 board. It's now version 1.3, which has the ground and reset pin and all that sort of stuff on the board now that I put on there, and on the back of it I've made an area where you can actually, if you change this crystal, you can write the frequencies in the back if you want to for that. So I'll put that on the back of the board as well. So anyway, that's all up on PCBWay if you want to have a look at it, and if you want to get the boards made, please do it through the link that's there. It just helps me out. It doesn't pay me much, probably 10 or 20 cents I think for a set of boards if you buy them, and it just helps me pay for other projects that I try to go through and think that are helpful for doing this sort of stuff. So I've got the scope on the bench, as you can see, right next to the board, and what I'm going to do, I just got it connected up to my bench power supply. Now this will run from 5 volts, but it will actually run, as you'll find out, from 3.2 volts upwards. So this is quite good. So I will turn it on, and we're at actually 2.5 at the moment, and that's reading about 3.56 kilohertz. So that's very close to what we need. But if I push this up to the 5 volts I need for the board, 5.1, then we're definitely getting a very, very good signal. Just put her on auto. And there we go. It's not a clean signal, but it's good enough for what we need. And that's giving us a good peak to peak as well. So guys, there we go, we've got this all set up. So what I will now do is I'll turn this off, and I'll hook up the Spectra video to it, 728, and let's see how that goes. Alright, so I will be back in a second. I've just switched sides so you can actually see what's going on. I've got the cable that I've soldered onto where the clock comes from the VDP. It comes through over to here and then goes through the 2 sets of gates, and then it gets up to the Z80 processor. I've tagged the wire on here for where I want to inject the clock, and so that goes over to the clock output on the board here, and that's still set to frequency I need, which is the 3.56. so I've got both the board and the clock coming in on the same power, and what I'm going to do is I want to fire it up without the video processor in, just to make sure that the CPU is actually getting that clock signal. So I've got my scope all set up here, and I might have to move that for the earth, just with all the wires I have all over the place. And I will go to ground, which will be here. Okay, so I've got a ground on there, and I'll put my eyes on so I know what I'm sticking the other end of the oscilloscope onto. And so what I'll do is I'll now power this on. I'll turn that down a fraction. So we're at 3 volts, so I'll just turn it up and get it up to the 5 volts. Sitting at about 5.1. And so now if I put this on the clock for the... And there we go, we got 3.56 megahertz on the CPU now. So that tells me that for some reason the video processor is not putting out the right frequency we need for the processor to run. Now why, I don't know. Don't know why it's doing that. So let's try and find. So that's it there. So that's the one it should come out of, which is pin 37, which is the GROM clock, and that's what should be coming out of that processor, and that's the one we're getting 440 odd kilohertz, not megahertz out of it. So that is why the processor is not kicking into life. It is just far too slow for it. So what I'm going to do is I will take a socket, pop another one of these sockets in here. I will pop out or solder a wire to no, I won't. I'll just pop that leg out just so it doesn't connect, and I'll put the IC in, and then let's see if this thing runs properly, because that's the 10 megahertz crystal which runs this fine, and that's running fine. That is getting its proper clock frequency. So I don't know what's going on with this, and as you can see, most of the ICs have been changed. The only ones I haven't changed are the 3 up here, which are, I'm pretty sure, to do with the expansion bus and the cartridge, and these 3 over here, which are to do with the printer port and the cassette and the joysticks. But everything else has been changed with a brand new chip, and I've checked all the logic chips in a tester and they all test fine. So I don't know what, other than this, I don't know what else to do to try and find out what's going wrong with this. Capacitors have all been changed. The transistors are just up in this circuit up the left hand back here, so I don't think that has anything to do with the machine either. The diodes have all tested fine, so I don't know. I mean, other than coming down to replacing the resistors and the other capacitors and that sort of thing, I don't know what else to try. There's just no way that this thing is putting out a reasonable clock frequency. But anyway, I will get a socket, we'll pop it in here and see if that's going to fix our clock problem, and if this machine will fire up. Because at the moment the machine's probably running, but there's no video out because I haven't got a video processor in there. So I will do that and we'll see how we go from here. Alright guys, so I'll be back shortly. Alright guys, so I've got my processor in a socket, and you might be able to see it. I'll bring it up. I've got one leg taken out. I did try bending it over, but when I went to put it into this socket, it wouldn't sit flush. It kept rocking. So I popped the leg out, which I've got on the bench here somewhere, and I put the processor in here, and then that just pops in on the top there. And there's nothing coming through the bottom of that, as you'll see. There's no pin coming through the bottom from the processor, so that's not going to make a connection down the bottom. So then I just stack that on top, and now the signal for the processor is coming from the clock generator over here. Now people will go, well, doesn't this have a clock generator in it? I've not used it, so I don't know what it's capable of doing. It probably does. Whether it will go low enough, I do not know. I decided, nice little project, something different. get back into making stuff. So I've done that. I haven't put the reset switch on it yet, because as I said, this is a version 1. I'm not going to worry about it. If I make a version 3, I will put the switch and that on it in case I need it. So that's all on there now. So what I'll do is I will fire this up and just make sure that there is no stray frequency coming out of this thing. And if that's the case, then we can go on and check for video signals and that coming off the other end of this. Alright guys, so I'll be back shortly. Right, so what I've done is I've disconnected the clock frequency off the board, because I want to make sure there's nothing coming out of the video processor. I'll turn that on, get our 5 volts, and nothing. Cool, that's really good. We've got nothing coming out of there. If I check this over here, and if we do a auto on it, and as you see, that's 447 kilohertz. That should be putting out the clock for the CPU. We'll switch this off and I will connect the clock up. And that's the other nice thing with this clock circuit. It runs off 5 volts. So if you wanted to, you could tag off a 5 volt rail off the board to the clock unit, and it will run off the one power supply. Then you don't have to worry about running separate grounds and things like that for your scope. That's all off the one power supply. Now that's all on there, and we'll power this up. 5 volts, and we'll check the yep, getting the 5 volts there. Yep, getting the right clock frequency there, so that's good. Yep, that's cool. Alright, so we got that going, and now what I want to do is check the outputs on the video. So I'm going to have to swap the ground around and move the ground a little bit closer. Right guys, so I took the plug off here because I couldn't get a decent connection through that. So with all the hot glue on there, I had to pull it off to get to these pads. So now just checking these down along here, we're now definitely getting frequencies coming through here now. So I think that's all working now. So what I'm going to do is attach some wires onto here. I'll just double check these. It could have been a bad connection on the wires or a break where it went onto the board before I hot glued it. So I'll reattach all this on and then double check that there's continuity through them, and then we'll look at putting the video board on and seeing if we get a video signal out. Alright, so I will do that and then I'll get back to you. See you soon. Okay guys, so I'll just swap you across. Okay guys, so I've got my 728 in here. I want to find out what's going on because I'm only getting a red screen on the other one. Now this one I'm not sure if this is a 1.8 or a 2.8 that's under here. But what I'm going to do is I want to probe it and see what the frequency coming out of this chip is. And then what I will do is I've got another 9918 up the top that I'm going to pop into here and see if it runs. And now if this runs fine, then it should run fine in the other machine. So I'm going to try that first, so I'll do that. So I've got the scope turned on here. I've got my earth on here, and it's the pin right on the side there. So now if I turn this on, See if we can get the right pin. We're getting 3.57. We're getting 3.57 out of this chip. And we come down to here where the little pad is. We're getting the same from there. So this is generating the CPU clock. So as far as I can see, that's what it should do. And it's also giving me a picture on the screen up here. I'll just, yeah, you're going to get a little bit shaky, guys. But as you can see there, I've got a picture up on the screen on my one. Right, this one is working fine, and that processor is working fine. So just to rule out that I haven't got any dud processors, I will switch this off, take that one out, and swap it over with the other one up the top there. And that's a 9. The one I know of that has the heatsink on it is the 9918. They always did. I will pop that out and try it in here. But if I look in the documentation for these, they were a 9928. We can only try it though. Alright guys, so I will do that. I'll switch this off. And we'll pop this chip out and try the other one. Now this might be a bit hard to get out because I've glued over the top to stop it moving. The glue's quite hard, so we might be okay. That's broken away, they're broken away. Yep, it's come away. That one. It's just holding on that side a little bit, so it's probably the glue just holding on a wee bit. So what I'll do, once I get this chip out, what I'm going to do is I'll clean that glue off. They shouldn't need it. I think it was put on as an afterthought because maybe the CPUs used to ride up in the sockets. Right, so that's that one out. And there's nothing underneath these to tell you what they are. The only way you could do it was by removing that. And as I said, I don't really want to do that at the moment. So this is my stack of chips I've got. And there's 9918, there's 9918 there. And in my container I've got the 9928s. We'll just check that, and all those pins look fine. But as I say, the 9918s had these, the 28s didn't. Make look, put the right way in, that's our notch, so that's to the front. Now, if this is not right for this, the pins are slightly different from the 18 to the 28, the pin outs. So if it is, we'll either get a black and white picture or we'll get no picture at all. Okay, so I'll pop this on and see what happens. And nothing. Yep. So it's probably is the 9928 that's meant to be in here, not the 18. So we'll pop that one out, and I'll take the one out of the other machine and pop it in here, because that one is a 28. Like that. I'll pop it out of its socket. Into here. Make sure he goes in properly. All the pins are in. Yep. So we'll try that again. And nothing. We're not getting anything. Oh, hang on. What have we got? It's sort of wanting to come up a bit corrupted, so that could be the video chip. Yeah, we've not got the right frequency coming out of that either. Okay, so that might be a faulty processor. So the thing is that are these faulty? I'm going to have to go through the rest of them in here. Now, I know this machine works, and it works fine with that processor. So I'll put that processor in and see if it works. And if it does, then that's going to tell me it's definitely something to do with the processors that's got an issue. Alright, so this is a little bit fiddly trying to jiggle around this bit, guys. So I'll go through and check all these processors and see if they all give me the same results. Alright, I'll see you soon. Right, so I went through all the processors, even the 9918s I've got, and all of the 9928s, and I get nothing out on the video, but I put the original one back in and I do. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more investigating about why. Alright guys, so I'm sorry, I don't have any more chips to try that are loose, so I'm going to have a look and see what I've got floating around, or get some more in. We're going to have to leave this one here. At least I know I've got a working machine, so if I get some more in, I can try them in here and make sure they are working, and if they are working, then they should work in the other machine. Alright, I think until something else shows up, I'm going to have to leave it about here, and we'll have to get back to it again. See you soon. So guys, I've done a bit more testing, and I'll just take you through what I've done. Alright, so I'll just switch you over to the overhead and we'll go from there. Okay. Right guys, so I've gone through all my 9118s and the 9929s and 28s I've had, and they all seem to be not working. Some of them I've actually noticed that they are NTSC, so that's why I'm not getting any picture on here. But I put the 9129 out of my 728 and it boots up, but I only get a white screen, nothing else. So that tells me there is something else going on with this. Now this has been long in going through and trying to fix this, so I'm really going to have to go back to the owner and just say to them, look, what does he want me to try and do with this, rather than keep it maybe as just a display piece, because I've replaced everything on here now and I'm still not getting anywhere with it. It could still be on this board here. It could be to do with the combiner chip and the transistor on this board, because this is the board that actually had the voltages go through it, and it could have damaged it. And that's when I've done all the diodes and the transistors over here and the regulators, etc. So all that bit's been done, and I replaced this op amp. The only thing left is that transistor, the combiner, which I have some of these, and the external transistor. That's the only real things that are left to do. But I'll get a hold of him and say, well, look, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to try these two? And if it still doesn't work, what do you want to do? Do you just want to keep it as a display item, and look at getting a new one or another one and go from there? Because I mean, it could be on this board, it could be a fault in the traces, and it's a lot of work to find out what's wrong with what, and a lot of time. And as you can see by the videos, I mean, even though some of them are only half an hour or 45 minutes long, There's a lot more hours gone into this than the length of the video. So yes, there's a lot of time. But anyway, I will have a word to him and see what he wants to do. I will have a word to a couple of other people and sort of see if they have any ideas on what it could be. If you want to jump in the comments down below and give me an idea of what you think it could be. If I turn the machine off, the video behind me, the Commodore monitor, goes grey. If I power it on, the screen takes a little while, comes up and is white, but I still get no beep through the audio, so there is still something going on that's not right. And that's why I'm wondering if it's a trace or something that may have an issue. Power's getting to the board fine, and etc. Nothing is getting hot. I don't have a spare ROM because the original ROM was dead, so I made a new one and put it in. It could be the ROM. My one in my machine is soldered in, so I don't want to take it out, risk damaging it to try it in here. Yeah, I don't really want to go down that track if I don't have to. I have tried a different CPU. For those who are wondering, I actually put in a 20 megahertz one. Made no difference. So this side of the circuit we're not too worried about. This is peripheral side and audio. That's audio. It will boot without audio, but I'm just trying to see if I can get this thing to fire up and give me some sort of a picture. My processor, I take it out of here, put it into my machine, and my machine boots fine. Not an issue. So that's working fine. Everything else on my machine is all soldered. It's not socketed. And I don't want to go through the point of pulling them all out. Now I know all the TTLs are fine because I have tested those, and these are all brand new parts. I think except for maybe one up here. Which I can replace, I suppose. But a lot of these, they all test fine. So I don't know. Even the originals tested fine. The only ones that were faulty was the RAM, the ROM, and the video processor. But trying to trace this fault down. These three up here are all to do with the expansion slot and the cartridge. And the other three over here with these other transistors are all to do with the joystick port, the cassette port, and the printer port. So I haven't done those. Other than that, everything's been checked or changed, except for the resistors and the decoupling capacitors. They're about the only things I haven't changed, and the odd diode, which tests fine. So I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. As I say, if any of you have an idea, jump down below and leave me a message what I could try. Yeah. Other than that, I have no real idea what could be the problem. I really don't. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for here, and I'll get a hold of him and ask him what he wants me to do. Alright? So we'll catch you soon. So there you have it guys. That's what I'm up to and where I'm up to. Unfortunately, yeah, doesn't look like a lot I can do with this without putting in more and more hours. So I'll get a hold of Stephen and ask him how far he wants me to go with this. Failing that, if he's just going to use it as a display unit, I will pop all the good chips out that I've put in there and put his old ones back in the sockets. I won't pull the sockets out. And yeah, he can do what he wants with it from there. So sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. It's a pity, but it'd be nice to see the old girl up and running. But we'll see. So guys, that's the end of another series on this machine. You may see a picture of it later on if we have any luck or manage to get it running. I will do a follow-up on it. But as for a series, this is as far as we can go. Alright, so as I always say, have a great day, have a great week, and until next time, ciao.